Hi, and congratulations on completing the course. And now it is time to prepare for the test. So I just want to remind you about the Pearson Vue exam and how many questions there are and what to study. So number one, what we want to look at is that there are going to be 60 scored items for the actual exam plus 5 to 10 pretest. So prepare to answer 70 questions. Do your best on all 70 because you'll not know which ones are pretest ones and which ones are actual test questions. Remember, when you're studying, you want to look at the topics and you want to focus your efforts on the high percentage topics, and then of course review the smaller percentage topics as well, but not to the same extent. So we have contracts, which deal with management and rental agreements. That's going to be 15% of the test. You're going to want to study NRS 118A.200 for lease agreements, and you'll want to study NRS 645.6056 for the property management agreements. You'll also need to know the types of residential leases and lease clauses that we studied. You'll want to look at rental applications, tenant screening, and the Fair Credit Reporting Act as part of that category. This category also talks about breaches and remedies and evictions, which we studied. 12% of the test is on record keeping, accounting, and trust management. You'll want to take a look at the Nevada Real Estate Division Trust Fund Accounting and Record Keeping Manual that we studied so that you have a good understanding of the requirements in Nevada. We also studied the basic accounting principles. You want to take a look at those. 5% of the test is on Nevada laws related to property management, including how to get your permit, what activities require a permit. We looked at the Nevada Real Estate Division Information Bulletin 012 for that. The renewal requirements, the authority and the responsibility of property managers, and non-broker licensee compensation. 5% is on mandatory disclosures, disclosure of agency relationships, material facts, environmental factors, and conflicts of interest. Another 7% is on fair housing. So NRS 118 talks about the Nevada laws, and you'll want to remember to look at the Fair Housing Act under HUD. We also spent time on the Americans with Disabilities Act. Another 3% of the test is on advertising rules related to fair housing. I gave you the HUD advertising guidelines in the resources website for that. 25% of the test is on landlord-tenant law, which is NRS 118A. That includes the tenant obligations and rights, the landlord obligations and rights, the definition of habitable versus essential services, which I'll have a separate video for that. We spent time talking about security deposits and the limits on those and cleaning fees, and also look up the domestic violence. NRS 33 defines domestic violence, and then NRS 118A addresses the rights that tenants have under domestic violence. We also talked about foreclosures. 5% of the test is on brokers' duties and agency relationships related to accountability and putting the client's best interest first. 18% of the test is on risk management, maintenance and tenant health, safety and welfare, insurance, and the fair debt collection practices. And then 5% is on commercial property management, the types of commercial leases and trade fixtures, what are known as pass-throughs on the test, and escalation clauses. Look up budgets and revenue in terms of operating income, net operating income, the capitalization rate, and then we talked about tenant improvements and that notice of non-responsibility. So that's what you're going to be tested on. Be sure to focus on those items for the test. There's plenty of extra resources on my website. You can also look at the keyrealtyschool.net dashboard for the instructor handouts for some additional resources. And of course, don't forget to take those practice tests. Good luck.